Okay guys, Dave Seminar, the Mad Traveler, with you again here today in Ouro Preto, Brazil. This is a UNESCO World Heritage Site city. It's a super interesting and beautiful place. I'm up at the Morao São Sebastião Mirante, which is a hellish climb to get up here. This is an incredibly hilly city. If you choose to drive here, you're absolutely insane. We did so with we rented a car in Rio and been on a road trip, and we drove up into the city to get here, and it is absolutely crazy driving. It's much better walking, although it's also completely, it can be, let's say, an Achilles shattering type city to walk up and down, and this is one of the highest points right up here, and that's a viewpoint of the city, as you can see. But in any case, Ouro Preto, Ouro means gold, Preto means black, so this city was named after black gold. The village that was here before then was named Rich Village, and it was not a rich village at all. It was sort of ironically named. But around 1700 or so, they started to find nuggets of gold in the waterways and the rivers right around this area. And initially they didn't need, it was very easy to extract this gold, right around 1700. But then later, as they began to mine gold, which is much more labor intensive, they started to import more and more, they started to enslave more and more people, bring them over from Africa to work in these mines. And what our guide told us yesterday, we hired a local guide, was that some of the enslaved people from Africa brought some real know-how of how to mine to this area. And he said that they were able to extract a lot more gold thanks to essentially the skills of these people who came. He also said that in this region, enslaved people had it slightly better than in other parts of Brazil, because some of them were able to earn their freedom by, one of the techniques he said was that on holidays they were allowed to work for themselves and earn money for themselves. So anything that they made on holidays they could bank away. He also brought us to a church that was a black church in those days, and it's actually quite an impressive place. So some of them were able to buy their freedom. Many of them, sadly, were not. But the wealth that the Portuguese brought to this area through mining, they created a tremendous number of beautiful churches. That's one of the major attractions of the city. They also created the world's oldest opera house, which we visited in another video you can take a look at. So this was, a remarkable place. In 1730, this was the biggest city in Latin America, and it was even had a larger population than New York City, I've read. And so in the 18th century, this place was thriving. But after all of the gold was extracted, it became something of a ghost town for a period of decades. And that sort of ensured its survival, ensured the beauty of the architecture and all of the churches and stuff. It did not modernize, and that's what makes it such an interesting city. This was also the capital of Minas Gerais state in the 18th century, but then the capital was moved to Belo Horizonte. So it became more and more marginalized, and that helped ensure the preservation. And I believe it was 1980, this became a UNESCO World Heritage Site. And so now you're not allowed to just level your house and put up an ugly McMansion. And even anything you want to do, if you want to paint it, it has to be the right colors. You can't just, basically, you can't be a dick in this city. And it's a marvelous place to visit. We've been here for 2 nights. I could, maybe stay one longer. If you're going to come, I would suggest you stay for 2-3 nights and come up to some of these spectacular viewpoints. It's a hell of a climb up here, but it's worth it to do so. See you guys. So this is Our Lady of Pilar Church in Ouro Preto. This was the first church, and arguably the most spectacular with all of this gold that you see here. This was built in the early 1700s, and this was the main church of the city. Again, all built with gold wealth, and this was the one church that was for all people. It was for blacks and whites, enslaved people, and also free, unlike other churches. Like, for example, the San Francisco church, our guide told us, was basically for whites only. It was sort of like a private church, whereas this one was for everyone. And as you can see here, just the tremendous amount of ornamentation here and all of the different altars. Just a really spectacular place. seminar, Mad Traveler, here with you this morning in Ouro Preto, Brazil. This is one of the famous gold cities of a miniaturized state, and we're standing in the Municipal Theater of Ouro Preto, which is supposedly the oldest one in Latin America, founded in 1770, which is pretty amazing if you think about it. Jen was just pointing out that it wasn't out in a major capital. It wasn't in a population center of Rio or Buenos Aires or Bogota, someplace like this, that the oldest theater was founded, but here out in Minas Gerais, which is pretty remote, being up here in the mountains, right?
Yeah, I think the people who moved out here to start the mining brought with them a lot of money and were used to entertainment of this scale.
This caliber, cultured people. And this could seat 300 people, and apparently they also attracted artists and actors from all over the world to come here too. They weren't just local productions, and I guess aside from building these fantastic churches in the town, which are major tourist attractions, this is sort of a more minor tourist attraction of Ouro Preto. As you can see, we're the only ones here, and we're up here on stage, which is kind of a neat little offbeat thing to do, and it only costs like $1 to come and visit this theater. So Municipal Theater of Ouro Preto is sort of a little under the radar place. Check it out, especially if you're into visiting beautiful opera houses from around the world. This is certainly one of them.